Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here on this wonderful Friday. It has stopped raining here in Southern California, and I want to say the sun is out, but not really. It's sort of out, kind of out. It's supposed to get really good weather-wise, and I always tell people, how the weather impacts your mood. My friends say things, and I go, "It's because of the weather, man. It's because of the weather." It's predominantly because the weather actually impacts my mood, and I'm very aware of that. I really don't like it. I don't like the winter months because of how it gets dark really early. Really impacts me. And I'm just like productivity, all of it. So with that said, I've realized a number of things that are wrong with my system. I'm going to need your help. I don't know what I know what the problem is. I have no idea what the solution is because I don't know what the source of the problem is. And maybe we can speak about that. There's some really good philosophical and spiritual insight we can gain from there, because you can know what a problem is in life, but not know what the source of the problem is. And you can't really fix a problem unless you know what the source of the problem is. That preaches well. Write that down. Write that down for all you guys who are involved in ministry. There's a sermon idea for you, and you're very welcome about that. I will look to my right often, to my left. Am I blurry? Is everything looks fine on your end? I'd appreciate it if you would let me know. I'm not supposed to be blurry. Run a speed test. Ooh, speed is through the roof. I don't know what's up with this. Then if I'm blurry, it's not the speed issue, and I got to adjust the camera. But I'm looking at the camera, and it looks really good. Really good. So, I don't know. So I moved a couple of things around because I want to utilize this corner. I like this. I really like this angle, you guys. I really like it. I was thinking, I was sitting here and doing this. I might have a similar setup for Tom. I actually might. Okay. So we might put a camera facing that way. So whenever we have our streams, Tom and I can actually be facing one another and talk. How that will look camera wise, we don't know. That way, when we're in serious arguments with one another, you can actually tell. You can tell how much we don't like each other. Let me know if the audio's fine. It should be. So yeah, the problem is whenever I play a video, I think it echoes. At least it's showing that it echoes on my indicators when I play a video. I don't know what the source of that problem is. I'm gonna have to do some research. It wasn't there last week. It's here this week. It's the reality of tech. Okay, we look good. Yeah, you guys see my computer there. Okay. Then looks good. Comments. Picture is good. Very slightly blurry. But not too noticeable. Yeah, I'm not surprised at that. And it's hard for me to focus it at that level. Specifically because like I can't reach over and correct it, right? Let me see if I can do it this way. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I can't. Okay. Audio's good. Everything's good. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. Evelyn, appreciate it. I am going to drop a link to call in. And feel free to share this stream out, by the way. We have been like extremely stagnant when it comes to the growth of the channel. Why, you might ask, that is? I don't know. It might be because I've been inactive in regards to posting shorts and videos and all that stuff. That might be why. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to call in. We'll adjust that. If you want to call in, have questions. If you're a non-Christian who wants to call in and you're watching this, we'll give you priority to call in. Gosh, you guys, I'm frustrated. I'm beyond frustrated, actually. I'm disappointed, angry. Multiple times this week. Listen to me. Multiple times this week, I've had the thought, not that I'm going to act out on it, but I have had the thought that I should just stop doing this YouTube stuff. And like just not YouTube, like social media and all that. Because the discourse that I'm seeing, right? The conversations that I'm seeing on the internet are at such a low quality. And it's heartbreaking. And some of these people are people I know. I called into a conversation yesterday on TikTok, predominantly because there's a young lady that called in and she had a couple of questions and she was asking for resources. And the people interacting with her, and this is a Christian talking to Christians. The people talking with her were sort of trying to argue with her. It didn't make sense. They weren't giving her resources. She asked for resources multiple times, predominantly because I don't think they had the resources. I called in and gave her three books to read. I had two of them on hand. But there was an individual that was speaking before me, and this individual was saying things that are really, really wrong in many ways. I know they didn't think it was wrong, but they were very wrong. So I called and I said, look, guys, please be careful. There's about 70 people watching right now. Some of the stuff you guys are saying is really wrong. And then this individual came at me and tried to debate me. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm not trying to debate you because there is no debate on this. Like, the stuff you're saying is really wrong. And I just keep seeing that over and over again. Just folks that have had no preparation, haven't really deeply thought about certain subjects, advising other people to do certain things. And I was sharing a Bible study yesterday with a friend of mine, and I said, hey, this is what happened. My friend, who is a very intelligent individual, but is not an individual that's been like formally trained, said, well, that would result in them like meaning this. And I said, yeah, you got it. That's not that hard to realize. It would mean that. TikTok is a cesspit. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's just like I want to elevate conversations. It's like The Godfather. Like, look, I can get dirty, right? I can get in the mud and start swinging. And as some wise person said before, that if we turn this into a mudslinging game, we both get dirty and lose a lot of ground. And so I don't like that. I don't prefer that. It's harmful. It's harmful towards the presentation of the gospel. We cannot be on edge in such a way when it comes to our character development that every individual we speak with immediately turns into a fight. Right? And I say that, and we get a caller. And let's see. Let's bring our caller on.
Sup?
Can you hear me, my friend?
Yeah, this is Sean, the usual
Yes.
atheist, Tibu atheist.
The usual. Hey, let me as we're speaking, folks that are as you're watching. I'm not going to have Sean up on the screen because he's not on the screen. It's just a black screen, and I don't want to. If he doesn't want to be on screen, I'm not going to put him on screen. So you tell me, Sean. But also tell me that if the audio is coming through well and good and all that stuff. Okay. So what's up, Sean? How you doing? Sorry, before I let you go, hang on. I want to post this, and because it's important to what I was just saying right now. My friend Arnold says that sounds a lot. He says that sounds like more of a reason you should be on social media to counter the misinformation. That's the only like I don't want to say that's the only reason I'm on social media, but yes, like that's where my heart is, Arnold, and that's why I won't give up, and I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because more and more I'm finding out that there are a lot of people, specifically I'm talking about Christians here on the Christian side, who are talking about stuff they don't know about, who are who have opinions, not well-researched opinions, and who have access to the world. And I also realize that, chaos is always going to bring about following and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I just sort of want to be the voice of one in the wilderness calling out, make straight the paths of the Lord, right? For those who get the biblical reference there. Sean, what's up, my friend? How's the weather in your neck of the woods?
Chilling.
How's the weather in your neck of the woods?
The weather is pretty rough. Like it's been raining a lot and windy.
Yeah. Not surprised.
Unusually.
So do you guys get snow where you're at?
Not the best weather. No.
You just get rain?
Well, we did like 2018, but we don't usually get snow.
Yeah. So just rain.
I heard California had bad weather there recently. Do you still have bad weather?
So it cleared up today. So yesterday, and essentially beginning of the week, we just drenched lots and lots of rain, which is good. We need it, and the mountains probably got good snow, but we don't get snow where I'm at.
That's good. All right, so I'm here for the torture.
You're torturing me or torturing you?
I'm here. Torturing each other.
Okay.
That's what Jesus said.
He did not, but okay, go
ahead. Okay, so ask me questions, hard questions there.
You want me to ask you questions? You've called into my show to ask you questions. Sean,
okay, I'll ask you questions.
I'll ask you a question, Sean. In all seriousness, because look, you've been watching my channel for a while, and you've called in, and we've had interactions. Why are you still an atheist? Like, what's so convincing about atheism?
Why I'm still an atheist? Because I don't find the things convincing. Like scientifically, they're not convincing. The miracles I don't think are correct. A lot of scientific mistakes, and what else? The morals aren't the best. I've said this before. I should probably go into detail, but I'm a Timu atheist, so.
Yeah, but notice the question wasn't, why are you not a Christian?
Oh, you mean a deist, like believe in a higher power?
Yeah, the question wasn't. The question was, why are you still an atheist? Because I think the evidence for the existence of God is really, really strong. Now, you could say, "Hey, I'm not going to be a Christian or a Muslim or whatever," because, and I'm unconvinced by a number of these things. But I think if I were to pit theism and atheism against each other, atheism loses out, man. It does not have the traction. It doesn't have the support that people think it has. And that's what I'm saying. Like, why not just become a theist?
Well, give me the best atheist answer to that question. You list a lot of atheists. What would they say to this?
The best atheist answer?
Yeah.
I feel like if I say that, it's going to lead away from kind of the conversation, because I don't want to like deal with it in like theoretical whatever, like why so and so is, like why is Richard Dawkins still an atheist? I
Well,
don't
he's in the
know.
Epstein files. So there's a lot of, and anyway. So my
Man,
my answer
man,
would be,
it's not good
uh,
for all the atheists, huh? Because a lot of hard hitting atheists are in the Epstein files.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my
You know,
answer would
wait,
be
hang on, hang on.
the existence of
Let's
God.
carry that, Sean. Let's carry that a little bit. Are you surprised? I mean this legitimately, and I'm not trying to like up one the atheists. Um, are we surprised that some folks who don't think there are objective moral truths would actually act out on those things?
No.
Are they not being consistent with their worldview?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
they're
That's
consistent.
fair. Yeah.
But there's a lot of Christians too that are probably in
No, no.
Epstein files. I don't know which
I'm sure
ones.
there are. I'm sure.
Trump, maybe.
Yeah. If again using the word Christian loosely, let's just say people who believe in God, people who claim to be Christians. I'm very sure. But here's what we can say about those people: is that those people are inconsistent with what Christianity teaches, where the
So
other
you're saying that
ones
all the
are
sinners.
consistent with it.
Yeah, but are you implying then that every Christian that sins is an atheist, or everybody that?
No.
So all the
I'm
bad people are
implying
atheists or something?
no, I'm implying that every Christian that sins and does wrong things is living inconsistently with their worldview. But you can't say the same when it comes to so let's just say atheists in this category, and specifically atheists who say that there is no right or wrong, there is no good or evil. They're all social constructs. Those guys are living
Yeah.
extremely consistently with whatever they're saying. I mean, like, why are we surprised if they come out and say? Now, again, I should say this: just because people are in the Epstein files doesn't mean they're guilty. Like, I hope people understand that, because there's individuals that like they talk about and they're in the files, but you know, there's individuals that might be in the files and be in pictures with Epstein because they were at a gala or they were at some gathering. They were like, we have to be very careful, I think, as a society, not to just assume just because someone's name is in there, therefore they're guilty of doing following stuff. As a matter of fact, I was watching, I've spent 2 days trying to remember this guy's name, and I just remembered it at the right time. Well, I remembered his brother's name, not his name. Who's Brett Weinstein's brother? What's his name?
Eric.
Eric. Yes, there you go. So Eric, I saw a podcast with Eric Weinstein, with, I think it's with Sean Ryan, if I'm not mistaken. And Eric says Jeffrey Epstein was weirdly interested in his work. And he said that he was at an event with him. He had put it together. Supposedly he was really interested in some work in physics. He was connected with the Harvard math department for some reason. And he was bringing a number of these things to the surface and saying, why is this guy, even if he's a financer, so interested in some of this advancement in the sciences? And I just want to say, we got to be careful, because we don't want to, right, like, accuse people and say they've done certain things because they were in the files, unless there's actual information that they have done certain things. Just to say, okay, they're wrong. But we're playing out a hypothetical here, because you mentioned, Richard Dawkins is in there, and who's the other people that was in there from that sort of a camp?
That physicist fella, what's his name? The physicist, something. There's a physicist there anyway.
Nick Quint has been an expert on the Epstein files. Nick, tell us who's in there. Wait for his comments to come through. Nick can drop that in. Hey, what's up, guys? By the way, thanks for joining us. Those were you guys.
But anyways, so you were saying that the best evidence for God.
Yeah, like what is
You're
so
talking about the best
unconvincing to
evidence
you?
for God.
So let me give you three. What is so unconvincing for you when it comes to, say, the teleological argument, design argument, and the cosmological argument, the argument for origins of the universe that has scientific backing? By the way, for someone like you who loves the scientific stuff, the cosmological argument and the teleological argument both rely on scientific evidence. What's so
I actually
unconvincing?
don't
What's
know
like the
all of
takedown?
them. I'm not that educated. So the teleological, what's that again? I
That's the
don't know
that's the
them
argument.
exactly.
Yeah, that's the argument from design.
Yeah, but you know the atheists would disagree with that. They would say it just chance and a lot
No, I
of
know what they
trial and
would
error. And
say. Yeah, I know what they would say. Um, but that's low quality thinking in regards to what they would say, right? Because the argument is, when we're looking at the design of existence and life and all the meticulous things that need to come together to bring about the complexity of life that we have, you don't look at complex things like that generally in life and conclude that there's no intelligence behind of it. As a matter of fact, that is a worse kind of thinking than the individual that looks at things that have a complexity about them and says, this looks like it has intelligence behind it. This looks like it has a designer behind it. And we're looking at, if we look at DNA, if we look at all the things that are necessary for us to have life on this planet, um, if we look at, um, what else can I mention here? I don't want to go into the details of it, but just the meticulous
genetics.
nature, DNA, that's fine. Like so many things need to work together properly on minuscule kind of levels, right? On microscopic levels, one thing can't be off for us to have what we have. And it's so much more reasonable to conclude that there is a mind behind this, there's a designer behind this, rather than time and chance. And then we have this. That doesn't seem like it's a reasonable conclusion.
Well, the I think there was a debate there with Alex O'Connor and this physicist, and he was talking about that, and I didn't look it up. But so the scientists have answers for a lot of these questions, but I don't know the details. I should probably research it more.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
why I
look,
call myself a team. Anyway,
yeah, if you're gonna
so
claim to be an
it's just
atheist,
to
you
do with
definitely
time
should.
and change. We don't know what happened before the Big Bang, but that's
You
it really.
realize you realize that's an illogical question to ask.
Okay, why?
Because the idea of the Big Bang says that everything came into existence at the Big Bang. To say there was something happening before the Big Bang is actually contradictory to the Big Bang. That's why it's illogical. There
Oh, so
is
you're
no
saying there was
before.
no
There's
beginning?
no before. Time, space, and matter came into existence at the Big Bang.
So there was no before, so there was no beginning. So God was always there. The universe was always there.
No. That's I'm talking about it within like an atheistic worldview. Right? Like it theologically, it's spoken about differently in regards to the beforeness of the Big Bang. But if you're gonna say, as an atheist, well, I believe in the Big Bang Theory, um, which also is a great show for those who haven't watched the Big Bang Theory. Um, it's unreasonable for you to say, well, we really don't know what was before the Big Bang. There is no before the Big Bang in that world. The Big Bang is the beginning of everything. That's why the question is so difficult for the atheist, that how can you have something from nothing?
Well, it's Lawrence Krauss that wrote a book about that, and he
And
said
Lawrence Krauss has a
there
picture of
isn't
Jeffrey
nothing.
Epstein as well.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The FC, yeah.
Okay.
But he says that was not what he was saying. He said it's not nothing, it's something, but they don't know. That's what he
But
said.
that's not what
That's
the
what I heard.
theory says. That's what Lawrence Krauss wants to say. And the reason why Lawrence Krauss is forced to say that is because he realizes that he can't defend anything. But this is where Lawrence Krauss, in his debate with William Lane Craig, really screwed up when it came to this, because he said, well, before the Big Bang, there was nothing, and then let me tell you what it was, and then started defining it. Then it's no longer nothing. But because these guys are smart enough to realize that their view falls apart when it comes to the existence of the universe, they try to come at it a different way. There's a lot of better ways they can come at it, but it doesn't really answer the question, right? Like the people who've posited multiverse theory, it doesn't really answer the question, because the question ultimately goes back to, where did the multiverse come from? Was the multiverse eternal and all that? It's just a step back. Plenty of people have brought that to light. The thing about you, Sean, that's very intriguing to me is that you are very honest about like what you don't know. And it seems to me that you're putting quite a lot of faith in the scientists that you think know better than you.
Well, you got to have faith, Faith is
I know.
important thing.
Amen. I don't disagree, Sean. I don't disagree. The problem.
I don't trust everything in science. I don't have faith in everything in science. If I don't know something, I'll be honest. But obviously, I'm not knowledgeable enough. I wouldn't want to be a debater online and be like, I would need to know more for to debate full time.
Yeah.
Especially
well, brother, you're a lot better and more honest with yourself, and you have a lot more humility than a lot of people that are on the internet that shouldn't be on the internet.
Well, thank you very much.
I'll tell you that.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
So what are you saying? Oh, yes, you're saying about the beginning of the universe. Yes. Lauren. Yeah, but hypothetically, if I were to believe in a God, it doesn't necessarily have to be the God of Christianity. It could be any pantheism. I think there's a new philosophy now called pantheism or something.
No, I mean, it's not new.
Everything's got consciousness.
No, that's panpsychism.
Oh, yes,
that like material things are conscious somehow, which I haven't done much study into panpsychism, but just thinking about how one would argue for that, it seems extremely unlikely that things like rocks and trees have consciousness, unless you redefine what consciousness is.
You understand that if you were to convince me that there is a higher power, it doesn't have to be Christian or Buddhist or anything. I could make up my own higher power. It could easily make up my own religion or whatever beliefs and have different morals than you. And we were always talking about this before. It was like, if I were to believe in a higher power, that doesn't mean I can have the same morals, or it's all just subjective, I think.
Well, here's the thing. It's not like there's an infinite category of possibilities out there. Right? So if there is an origin to the universe, and that origin to the universe is God, we'd have to qualify what kind of a God that would be. And I frankly don't think you have many options beyond that. I mean, the options to you are some form of theism, which maybe deism would be a category. Sometimes people speak about theism and deism synonymously, and I think there's room for that. I don't. It would be Christianity, it'd be Islam, it'd be Judaism. I can't think about any other.
Oh, it could be multiple gods. It could be.
It can't be.
There's millions
it
of
can't
ways.
Be. No, it can't be. That's what I'm saying.
Why not?
Polytheism it won't be an option.
Why not?
Because all those gods would be limited in power, and would have to have some.
Yeah, but if they're all in a trinity, let's say there's three of them, and if there was three Thors and they're trinity, would that work?
No, it wouldn't, because Thor is still a created entity.
You mean he's created, Thor?
Yeah, Thor is not an eternally existent being.
Okay,
Neither
what are
is Odin.
those
Neither is Odin, by
powerful
the way.
gods? Zeus, who's the
Zeus
most
has
powerful
parents.
god in mythology?
Zeus has parents. This is what I'm saying. Like when you look at the ancient mythologies, what we commonly refer to as mythologies, let's just say religions, because that's what they were. Um, the deities that they present to us all have origins. None of them have an eternal deity. They all come from somewhere. All of them.
Yeah,
And
but your god came from somewhere too. When you look at the archaeology, the Jewish god came from Canaanite.
yeah,
There's mentions of different.
okay, you're confusing categories here. You're confusing what we generally call anthropology and what we would generally call theology or philosophical theology.
No, I think
Like,
it's
yeah,
archaeology. They found evidence of different beliefs in Judaism. Early Judaism, they have evidence of different gods, and the current god being
look,
changing from a
if you
different name.
had zero, if you had zero archaeological evidence, and the only thing you had was the Bible to go on, you'd be able to conclude that Jews throughout their history have worshipped many gods. Multiple gods were worshipped in the land of Israel by the Canaanites in that land and also by the Israelites in that land. The Bible attests to this. It regularly speaks about how Israel falls away from the Lord and starts worshiping other deities. It regularly speaks about a very good student of the Old Testament will realize that the Old Testament presents in certain situations Israelites that are worshiping both Yahweh and other deities of that land. It's in the text. I don't like. It's hilarious to me, Sean, that somebody will come up with articles and books, and then they'll get popularized on YouTube by getting interviewed and all this stuff, and then they're like, "We discovered something. Did you know the ancient Israelites worshipped multiple deities?" And my response to them is, "Have you read the book of Judges? Like it's in there. It's literally, for example, I'll give you an example here. It is in the story of Gideon. Like a very popular story that people are familiar with is the story of Gideon. And all you need to do is read it and realize that this is a part of Israel's history. It's not, oh, they worship Yahweh and nothing else. And that's not what the text says. The problem is that many people who have these conversations are absolutely illiterate when it comes to the Bible. And my general recommendation for people is read the Bible. It won't hurt you. And then,
Yeah, but does God
by the way,
say
archaeology
that
doesn't,
there
let
was
me just say
real
something.
gods?
Archaeology doesn't prove much. Archaeology needs interpreters. Like when you find bones, right? You can find bones, say, and then they have signs that this was a burial, versus say somebody who got shot by an arrow and died. You can discover certain things, like, oh, look, these people buried. I'm just making stuff up, by the way, but like these people buried their dead with, I don't know, like gold. It's like, oh, that's interesting. We found 1, 2, 3, 4. But you won't know why. All you know is that they buried people with gold. Unless you find an actual inscription that tells you, here are our burial practices. We bury people with gold because we believe they're going to carry this gold into the afterlife or something like that. Then now you know. But if you just find individuals buried with gold, you have zero idea as to why the gold is there. And everything else is you're doing guesswork. And I think people give way too much leniency to archaeologists interpreting things that they find. Go ahead.
But
I
anyway,
cut
so
you off.
back to the God thing. I mean, I could make if there was a deity that made the universe, I would have like it could be anything I want it to be. It could be
But it
anything,
can't
and
be. It can't be anything you want it to be.
well, that's a false dichotomy, as they
How?
say. Uh, I was learning up fallacies there. I could be many options. It doesn't have to be one God, or
I know, but
it
what
could
are the
be
many
many
options?
things.
Can you tell me what the many options are?
It could be non. It could be uh, uh, polytheism. It could be
It can't be polytheism. You
panpsychism.
can't have multiple deities who have origins, be eternal, and the creator of the universe. Like
Why not?
because they're limited. It begs the question as to where do they come from?
Yeah, but where does God come from? It's the same
God
thing. I mean, we
God
could.
does not have an origin. In the Christian conception of God, God doesn't have an origin.
Yeah, but I could say that the polytheistic gods that I make up don't have an origin.
They've all been eternally existent. Is what the
Yeah,
claim
I
is
could
going to
say
be.
that.
How do you distinguish
I could
them?
say that too.
Yeah, how would you distinguish them?
They're all like they have different qualities, but they're all super powerful and
Yeah, but being super
do,
powerful and all powerful are very different things.
yeah, well, they're all like different. And there's actually
Do
one
they,
there's probably one that's better, but they're still sharing the power and all
well,
democratically and all that.
welcome to monotheism, my friend. you
Well,
just
okay,
argued
no,
for
I could say
you
no,
just
they're all
argued for
equal. Okay.
monotheism.
Yeah, but I could also say they're all equal and
They
they
can't
all
be.
have the same power.
I'll give you a
They all have
philosophical
different
argument.
powers, and then
Okay, you got to pick up your
they were
mind.
never
You
created.
you got to pick one or the other. They're either all equal in
Well,
power or they're not.
they're all different in power, and
Okay. Look. Do you
there's
like
different types.
ChatGPT? Do you
Like the
like
Hindus,
ChatGPT?
you know.
Do you like ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask ChatGPT a question. Okay. The question I'm going to ask ChatGPT is this: why is it impossible to have multiple um, deities that have all the omni properties? So the question I'm asking ChatGPT is this: why is it? You know what? I won't ask why is it impossible. I'll ask it: is it impossible? Because why is it impossible is saying that it is, right? So is it impossible to have multiple deities that have all the omni properties? Are you satisfied with that question?
Sure.
Okay, let's ask ChatGPT. Here we go. See what ChatGPT is saying. Short answer. Yeah, I want to know. Let me see if I want to put this on the screen. Close that. Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll put this on the screen. Here's what it says here. Okay, it says short answer. Yes, it's impossible. If by all the omni properties you mean the classic theistic attributes, omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence, and necessary existence. But necessary existence is very important to this conversation, by the way. Okay, because if they don't have necessary existence, then they are created and it falls back. Plus, typically simplicity and aseity. We'll put that aside. If two distinct beings are omnipotent, then each has unlimited power. Each can will any logical possible state of affairs. So suppose deity A wills that event X occurs, deity B wills that event X does not occur. If both are omnipotent, whose will prevails? If A overrides B, B is not omnipotent. If B overrides A is not omnipotent. If neither can override the other, neither is omnipotent. To avoid contradiction, their wills must always be necessarily identical. But if their wills are necessarily identical in every possible world, then we must ask, on what basis are they distinct? If there's no differentiating feature in power, knowledge, will, presence, essence, then there are not two beings. They are numerically one. This is the point I was trying to get at with you. Okay. This is a
But then you could have a polytheistic, different gods. That can be possible.
yeah, but you realize then they are limited because if they are if they disagree in their wills, then one's gonna be more powerful and override the other. That's why when you were saying these things, when I made a joke and I said, "Welcome to monotheism," I said, you said, well, one of them could be like more powerful than the rest, because you thought and you figured out, no, like they can't be all equal in power. It's an impossibility. Things
Well,
won't
they
get done.
could. They could just share the power and just have different responsibilities, but they're still equally powerful.
Then you're playing semantics. You're not actually talking about multiple beings. And I can even apply Occam's razor to this and say the simpler answer would be just to talk about one being rather than multiple beings. Like, because we're not trying to just like on the whim come up with stuff. We're actually trying to reason to certain conclusions. And if I want to actually have the conversation on a serious level, and I'd say, wait, why do you need all these multiple beings when one being can do that? And we apply Occam's razor and it's done.
So the atheist would say that the universe was never created, and the Christians say there's only one God. So that's
So,
that's
sorry,
the
sorry, sorry, sorry.
beginning.
The atheist would
And
say the universe was never created.
but they would say the Big Bang, and they don't know what happens
Yeah, but
before.
they
They're not
don't.
sure.
That's what I'm saying. They don't. Because the scientific data for the Big Bang is really, really, really strong.
Yeah, but can you
Atheists,
ask ChatGPT
atheists
what's
that hang on.
the
Atheists, wait, let me finish my thought. Atheists that
atheists say about
believed
the
you're
beginning?
you're cutting off. You're cutting off. Atheists that believed in an eternal universe no longer really exist. Like the cosmology is pretty clear. That's assuming Trump doesn't come up with his whole reveal of the aliens stuff. Trump is slowly going to become the favorite president of all the liberal atheists. Um,
Well, no, he probably will get arrested for his involvement with Epstein, hopefully. But
it seems
well,
like
no, I
he's
think that atheists have a better answer than me on this beginning of the universe. But anyway, I'll change
yeah.
subject.
I don't think
Another
they do.
question.
By the way, I don't think they do. Let me address some of the comments that have come in here. Nick says, by the way, Arthur, did you see my video on Pauline metaphysics? I have not, Nick, but I saw your post about it and I was like, I gotta watch that. That seemed interesting to me compared to all the other boring stuff you do. I love you, Nick. The Vikings buried their dead for the most part with shields and sword. Correct. And there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason. Um, the most time I spend with my sons is having to take them to the Bible and show them truth against what they are seeing from popular people online. I keep asking them, have you read your Bible? That's a really good place to be. Arthur, devil's advocate here. How does that ChatGPT work with intra-Trinitarian relations as we have wills and persons? So again, ChatGPT is going to give you, it's going to research and give you data that theologians are speaking about, and they're generally probably going to. My guess is ChatGPT. If I were to ask ChatGPT, how does this how does the wills issue get resolved within Christian Trinitarian theology? It'll tell me something like there is. There is an agreement or there's one will shared between the Trinitarian members and all that. Let me ask it actually. Let me ask it. How is the multiple wills dilemma solved within Christian theology? The dilemma. And good. This is exactly where precision matters. Thank you, chat. Appreciate that. ChatGPT giving me props for asking proper questions. So here's what it says, Nick. The multiple wills dilemma says if there are multiple divine persons, then there are multiple divine wills. If there are multiple wills, conflict is possible. If conflict is possible, omnipotence collapses. Christian theology solves this by distinguishing natures from persons. In classical Christian theology, Nicene, Chalcedonian, Augustinian, Thomistic, nature answers what is it, persons answers who is it. A will is a faculty of a nature, not a person as such. Since there is one divine nature, you guys can read the Greek here for all you Greek readers. That says mia ousia. Therefore, there is one divine intellect and one divine will. The three persons, Father, Son, Spirit, do not have three wills because they do not have three natures. This is why the church rejected tritheism and later rejected tritheite interpretations. Scripture supports one will. It goes into giving you scriptural support for that. Let me know what you think about that, Mr. Nick Quint, as you were playing devil's advocate. Hey, I asked the question. Chat needs to send those props to me. Correct. You answered the question, but not the way I answered it. Mine was better the way I asked it. But it's okay. You get props too, man. You get props too. By the way, only if a bunch of Muslims.
I think you could still have.
Just 1 second. Only if a bunch of Muslims were able to articulate their questions properly and then do the research. Because this is a regular question that Muslims ask. And they say, oh, the Christians believe in tritheism. What about this? What about this? We solved it a long time ago. Go ahead, Sean.
But I think you could still have like multiple gods and they'd be all equal and they'd still do stuff.
Only if you had one God who created those lesser deities.
No, you could still make them all create everything.
Okay, so it's not. I think we're, to a certain extent, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. When I'm saying this, I'm talking about the reality of the situation. I think when you're saying it, you think like we're just imagining these things.
Yeah.
You can't just imagine impossibilities.
How do you know it's impossible? Everything's possible, my guy.
Because they would have to have everything is not possible. That's where your logic is wrong. Everything is not possible. In a world where God exists or in a world where God doesn't exist, everything is not possible.
But so you think that multiple gods cannot create the universe? It's not a possibility.
I don't think that. The problem with that is it is irrational when it comes to the logic of it.
Why?
I just read it for you. Because you will have a conflict of wills.
No, but if they're all equal, sharing the same opinions, same thoughts, and
then they would have to share then they would have to share in the same nature. But you're trying to get away from
and
that.
There would be just different gods. There'd be twins. There'd be just the same twins or clones or whatever.
You're trying so hard.
There'd be loads of them.
You're trying so hard.
Well, I'm using my brain like the critical thinking side, and
you're not doing much critical thinking.
There's loads of possibilities. I'm not saying there's only one. There's multiple possibilities of a higher being. I don't think there's only one.
You would the closest thing, if I were to give you so much grace and help you out, the closest thing you would come to is something like henotheism. Right?
What does that mean?
Well, in that sense that there's a main deity, there's a creator of all things, who also created other deities that are divine,
which is in the Bible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't God say that there's other gods?
Yes, and the Bible speaks about that in two different ways. So it's very important it's important to explain what we mean when we speak about it. One of the ways the Bible speaks about it is that there are other gods, quote unquote, in the sense that people worship these things, but they don't really exist. But they're real to the people who worship them, but they don't have real existence. That's one way the Bible speaks about it. Another way the Bible speaks about it is that there are real entities behind these idols that human beings worship. But they're not actually the way the human beings articulate them.
So you're saying that God created the devil to make false gods to...
Well, I didn't say that.
Like that.
No, I didn't say that.
But that could be a possible... What you're implying.
No, because the way you spoke about it is wrong. You're saying, so God made the devil in order to do the following thing, and that's where it falls apart. Because now you're...
So what do you think God... What is your likely thinking on this? Is that God created other gods, or God let humans invent their own gods? But doesn't the Bible say that he was in the pantheon?
By the way, they're not
in heaven.
Yeah. They're not mutually exclusive.
And he shared power with other gods, and he was the highest one, or something in the Old Testament.
Well, yeah, it's what people generally call the sons of God kind of theology, and people can look up the work of Michael Heiser if they want to learn more about that. But the Bible actually says both. They're not mutually exclusive. So if you read Romans, the book of Romans will talk about how people suppressed the truth and went on to worship things that are in the likeness of creation, animals, so on and so forth. Right. So there's that aspect of it. Definitely there's an aspect in regards to human beings creating deities in our own images. Or like the rest of creation, people have worshipped animals all over the place. So that's an option. Another one is there's authentic, real spiritual powers behind these things. And by the way, Paul is the one writing both of these things. And one of them, he says that. And the other one says, when he's talking about idols, he says, we know that idols are nothing, meaning they don't exist. But he says, but behind every idol is a demon. So Paul, in his writings, affirms the reality of both of those things when it comes to the development of religion in the world.
So the religions before Christianity were all the really old pagan gods before Christianity. They were all demons.
Well, not necessarily. That's not what he's saying. And I don't know why you would have to say before Christianity. I think there's a lot of demonic religions after Christianity.
Well, I'm talking about before because it's trickier.
But that's what he's saying in Romans chapter 1, right? Like, so if you go to Romans 1, he is talking about religions before Christianity.
But he's implying that they're all demon. They were created by demons. So that means God did that.
Not in Romans 1. Not in Romans 1. Here. So look what this passage says. I'll pull this up for you. This passage here says, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they, this is humanity, became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal men and birds and animals and creeping things. And so the idea here is that this is the human beings doing this, is that they don't honor God as who he is, and then they start worshiping all sorts of other stuff. So that doesn't say, oh, therefore it's all demonic. That's not what it's saying. So no.
Right. But I listen to scholars, and they're saying that there's a lot of similarities between ancient gods and Jesus, like, I don't know, like Dionysus, dying and rising gods. There's a few similarities between Jesus and pagan gods.
Hey,
and the
Do, do,
festivals.
do you think there are similarities between me and you, Sean?
Yeah.
Does that mean you are me or I am you?
Well, we're humans. So that means that if there were gods, similarities in gods, that means that people are copying each other. You know.
It doesn't actually. It doesn't. It could be that there are religious categories, and within those religious categories, certain things are similar to one another. And it doesn't. So
But
again,
dying and rising gods is a quite unique
there,
thing,
there,
and if
there,
there's
there
loads of
are
gods that
no,
do that,
there are zero dying and rising gods the way Jesus died and rose. None.
true, but it's still similar. So it means that people kind of probably got these ideas and then changed it a bit to make
Hey,
them separate.
hey, let me ask you a question. Okay, suppose you went to the doctor. Okay, and and that they had to do surgery on you in order to remove something, say like a tumor or something like that, right? And the doctor went in there, he did a surgery, he came out, and you came out of it, and he said, "Doc, did you get it? Did you remove the tumor?" He said, "Well, kind of. I sort of went like really, really close to it. Not sure if I got the whole thing." Now, that would be extremely concerning to you because that's the kind of surgery that requires extreme precision, right, John?
Okay.
Like you have to be very, very good at minute details of things. This is like that. This conversation is like that. It is not enough to say they are similar. Like, I'll give you an example from the Bible. Because similarity does not mean one and the same. And so therefore people are kind of jumping in logic to say, oh, they're similar, therefore they must have come from one another. Now this commits the correlation causation fallacy. And so that's a huge problem for people. But look at Acts chapter 17. In Acts chapter 17, Paul gets up in front of the Athenians and says, while Paul was waiting, many people know this passage, right? It's like very clear. While Paul was waiting for them in Athens, his spirit was provoked within him. So he saw the city was full of idols. Now, again, he notices that it is a very religious city. So he reasoned in the synagogue with the Jews and the devout persons, and in the marketplace every day to those who happened to be there. Some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers also conversed with him, and so he gets invited somewhere to speak at, right? And some said, well, what does this babbler wish to say? Others said, he seems to be a preacher of foreign divinities because he was preaching Jesus and the resurrection. And they took him and brought him to the Areopagus, some people, Mars Hill, saying, may we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting. And notice what it goes on. Here's what Paul says in verse 22. So Paul, standing in the midst of the Areopagus, said, men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious. So that's the similarity. They are very religious. So is Paul. For, he says, because I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, I found also an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. So that's a similarity. They worship a God that they do not know. And then he says, what you therefore worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. And then he goes into the God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, and then explains this and comes to the resurrection, right? So again, this is a similarity. Now, you can't say, oh, therefore, based on this passage, Paul thought the Athenians were actually worshiping the God of the Israelites. They weren't, but there are similarities, but the similarities are not enough. It's a starting point, not a conclusion. Okay, it's a starting point, not a conclusion.
Okay. No, I still think there's similarities between. There's a few dying and rising gods.
There are not like
And
Jesus. There are
yes,
deities.
obviously.
There are deities that cycle between death and resuscitation. There's a big difference between resuscitation and resurrection. But none of them are resurrection. And the couple that might come really close, by the way, the earliest writings we have about them are post-Christianity. So to say that we got it from them is not being honest with the material in our hands,
I'm
because
not
the
sure about
writings are
that. Can you ask
post-Christianity.
ChatGPT?
Oh,
I
you're
don't think
asking,
that's correct.
it's correct. Ask ChatGPT.
About the dying and rising gods that are post Christianity, I think that's wrong. I think you're wrong there.
No.
I don't have the evidence, but if you ask ChatGPT, I think you'll be wrong there.
We can ask ChatGPT. Okay. Here, ChatGPT. Name the rising and dying gods throughout history. You have to realize and listen very carefully to what I said. What I said was that the writings we have about some of them that come close to Jesus, the writings we have about them are post-Christianity. Okay. So here, I'll just put this up on the screen so people don't accuse me of all sorts of things. Okay. Notice the question here. Name the rising and dying gods throughout history. Okay. The category, rising and dying gods, comes primarily from comparative religion scholarship, especially 19th and 20th century writers like Fraser. Modern scholarship is far more cautious about how broadly that label applies. That's an important point right there. That said, here are major figures typically cited, organized by culture with brief precision on whether they truly die and rise or merely die or descend, which was the point I was making to you, Sean. That these are more like dying and resuscitating or descending and rising. It's not the same as what the Christian story is. But Dumuzi or Tammuz, which is a Sumerian deity, shepherd deity associated with vegetation cycles, dies and descends to the underworld in some tradition, partially restored seasonally. These are all going to be seasonal deities, by the way.
Well, it's similar to Jesus because he dies in spring, and it's
okay. So
it's
now,
similarities.
Okay,
like
you're not being fair with the data. The spring has no bearing on Christian theology. When Jesus dies and resurrects,
put it in the equinox, which is a pagan thing.
Oh gosh, Sean, please don't give me crap arguments. With all due respect, don't give me just debunked nonsense.
Yes, man. You need myth vision and digital gnosis or Gnostic informant.
Don't give me debunked nonsense. Okay. Oh, like for example, the resurrection of Jesus. The death and resurrection of Jesus has nothing to do with the spring. What it does have to do with is the Passover. What it does have to do with is when the Jews came out of Israel. To say that this has so much to do with the spring and all, it's literally makes no difference.
Well, the Jews did follow the equinoxes, and they put it similar to the season.
That's because they're on a lunar calendar. That has nothing to do with anything. Osiris, here's another one. Murdered by Set, reassembled by Isis, becomes ruler of the underworld, does not return to earthly life permanently. Again, notice the things here. Restored seasonally, doesn't return permanently. Baal, Canaanite religion, defeated by Mot, which is death, later returns in mythic combat style associated with agricultural fertility. This is why I'm saying that these are seasonal. Usually these deities had to do with like the harvest and the spring. And that's not what
Christianity is.
No,
Jesus' spring thing.
No, it's not.
It copies it.
No, it doesn't. Sean, you're not being honest with the data. Okay. Adonis. These are the more Greco-Roman stuff that I was talking about. Adonis. Mortally wounded, allowed partial return from Hades, linked with vegetation and symbolism. More seasonal return than the resurrection. I'm not saying this stuff, man. ChatGPT is. You told me to ask ChatGPT. I did. Attis, which is the one that comes up quite a bit in these conversations, Phrygian religion. Self-castration and death. Later traditions imply restoration. Evidence for literal resurrection debated. Now, these are the ones that I would tell you. Attis would be the one I would tell you, go look at the writings and whether they're post-Christianity or not. And you'll be surprised. Dionysus, the one that everybody likes talking about, right? In one myth, Ziggurat tradition, Dionysus is dismembered by the Titans, reconstituted, represents rebirth themes. Not resurrection themes, rebirth themes. Very different. But again, mythical.
Yeah, but it's similar.
But listen. But again, mythical cyclical symbolism rather than historical resurrection claim.
Well, there's no real good evidence of resurrection. Maybe.
Okay. Regardless, we're here arguing whether one's taken from the other. They could all be false.
But you understand they're similar, dying and rising and seasonal, springtime, like the rebirth of life in the spring.
But that is not what Christianity teaches, Sean. That is not what Christianity teaches. I don't care what Derek from Myth Vision says. He's wrong. And if Derek says that, by the way, I'm not even sure whether Derek.
I think Gnostic informant is more into the ancient pagan stuff.
That's fine. The issue is that somebody is reinterpreting what Christianity says if they say that's what Christianity teaches. It's not. When Christianity talks about the resurrection of Jesus, similarities don't matter in this. It doesn't matter. It's equivalent to saying Arthur has a beard and Pete Hegseth has a beard. Therefore, Arthur is the head of the Department of War. That's what that's how lame the arguments are.
It's just not unique. I mean, it just shows you that humans copied each other's beliefs. And
there's no debate that humans copied from one another. That's too general about this. I gave you the example that that you have to have precision in this. Because the generality similarities don't matter. We know people have copied from each other. There's no debate over that. The question isn't whether people have copied from one another. The question is if in this particular situation, Christians copied from others. That's the real question. And for that, there's no evidence. Because
there's some scholars that I follow that say that they're Greek. There's Greek in the Old New Testament. There's loads of weird stuff going on. But anyway, I can go on forever.
That's fine. Thanks for calling, Sean. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
See you.
Bye.
Sean's always good to talk to, guys. By the way, it's the link to call in is in the comment section. It's pinned in the comment section. Feel free to call in. Back to Orthodox, he says, I love the beard. Thank you. Kind of out of control right now, but it was a lot longer, by the way. I trimmed it down. Appreciate it. I know I've ignored some of your comments, but Arthur, look into the gods of the Phoenicians. Very important there. The Phoenicians being the modern Lebanese Canaanites. Correct, yes. And there's quite a bit. The Baal divinity, look into that. I mean, I'm not going to look into that right now, but I've looked into all that stuff. When I was in Bible college, people don't understand that. Not that Salwa, you don't understand this. I know you do. People generally speaking. When those of us who go to school to study Christian theology, especially those of us who focused on biblical studies, when we're studying about the Old Testament, we are required to study about ancient deities, the world of the world of the ancients, because you want to get into how they thought, how they operated, how they wrote, what they wrote, all of it. So we predominantly, when we do Old Testament studies at very conservative Christian schools, we have to. It is required for us to study Canaanite religion, to study Babylonian religion, to look into Akkadian religion, to look into Sumerian religion, to look into Egyptian religion. these things all matter. Did I mention the Canaanites? If I didn't, the Canaanite religions. The Assyrians. Now, some of this gets borrowed, right? Like you'll see things with the Babylonians, the Assyrians take it, and the Persians have it. So the similarity kind of conversation that he was saying, or they'll take the deities and just rename them. So Zeus becomes Jupiter, and that's not a major distinction. But we have to do these things. We actually have to study these things. We don't just go and stick our heads into the ground and just read the Bible because you want to study the culture of the Bible. Again, people miss out. People miss out on some of these things. What are we at? Mot means death. Oof, Arthur, this setup looks much better than the other way. I just set the wall up, so and then getting the hanging bookshelves going. I don't know if I might add one. I might add two more of these. Maybe I can do 1, 2, 3, 4. I need space for my books, guys. That's the other thing. I'm being a bit selfish here. Is that like I'm running out of room in the bookshelves. There's a lot. And so I got to figure out. I just don't want to have bookshelves on all sides of me because it closes in the space. I would love to if I had a bigger space, but it really shuts the space down, and and then I could like end up dying in an earthquake, buried by books, and people are going to look and say, "This guy was stupid. Why would he do this? Created a death trap for himself." And so I appreciate that. By the way, I like this too, man. Yeah, so we might keep this. I do have to move things around to get it stable and established. But yeah, that was a really good conversation with Sean. Folks, if you're watching this and you have a question, you're a Christian, you have a question, or if you're not a Christian and you want to ask a question or, bring a point of conversation, I promise you I'm a really good conversation partner. I really am. I'm probably better than 90% of the stuff you see on the internet. And I'm gonna aim at being better. I think Arnold had put up a comment earlier where he said something like, "This is why you should stick to it." Please play the Lutheran satire video. I watched it yesterday. It was really funny. I'm not gonna play it. Sorry, let me see. Where is it? I'll say this again and leave it. You should go out on the streets talking to people. You need to grow your channel and increase your reach. I believe going out to the streets will give you that. Yeah, maybe so. Just time and other stuff. Like I need a camera guy for that. It's just like probably will do that. He said some people would consider that a very good way to go. Thanks, Howard. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for wishing death upon me. I literally had to write papers on all this. Yes, we did. We literally had to. Michael Bird's Jesus Among the Gods is awesome and academic to those who are interested. Let's pull that up, everybody. Jesus Among the Gods. Michael Bird. Here we go. This is what the book is. Where you are at Amazon? There you are. Here we go. That's the book. Jesus Among the Gods, Early Christology in the Greco-Roman World. And this my point almost always is when I get into conversations with folks presenting things the way that Sean was, is that quite often they are not very informed and educated, and they focus too much, way too much, on these are the similarities versus whether it's actually a copy or not. It's like, of course you're going to have similarities. All theological conversations by nature because they are theological conversations, will have similarities. When a Christian and a Muslim talk about God, there will be similarities in that. But it's not the similarities that matter. It's the differences. That's what really matters. Because, you believe in God being all powerful. So do I. You believe in God being this. So do I. You believe in God being this. And we go, so do I. So do I. So do I. So do I. I believe Jesus is God. Oh, wow. That's big. It can't be the same God. The distinctions matter. The differences matter more than all the similarities. You can have 10 things. 9 of the 10 things are all one-to-one correlations to one another. That one thing that is distinct changes the entire scenario. That's doing theology properly. I don't want to do lazy theology. Too many people do lazy theology because they're lazy or they have lazy minds or uninformed minds. And so they're just spewing out this and that. Right? They kind of sound like this. That's what they sound like. Sometimes they look like that too. Out of curiosity, Arthur, have you seen the new political party rising in the UK? It's called Restore. Rupert Lowe is leading it. I have not. I don't pay too much attention to British politics. And man, I've just been overwhelmed with some American politics last couple of days. Just like it's too much. And not necessarily the politics, the people talking about the politics. And like having Tom as a friend isn't helpful when it comes to this stuff. Let me actually text him and tell him I'm trashing him right now. Yeah. Yeah, having Tom as a friend isn't helpful because then he'll end up sending me like, hey, you should watch this and you should watch that, and then it's like, dude, I just want to tell people about Jesus. Like that's like the politics matter, they really do, but like my personal heart is, I want people to grow in their faith. I want to tell people about Jesus, and I watch enough stuff, and obviously it's all over the place, and sometimes you got to really keep up with it. But today I was like, man, I should really take a step away from having all sorts of political conversations, and again, just evangelize. I want y'all, if you don't know Jesus, my goal is to make you a Christian. And my goal is for you to come to know Jesus. That's why I do apologetics. If you do know Christian, if you don't, if you do know Jesus and you are a Christian, hopefully I will be beneficial to your life and you can grow in your walk with the Lord. That's what this channel is about. That's what we're about, guys. That's what I'm about. Nick says, I can confirm Arthur is a great conversationalist. Not a conservationist, but a conversationalist. Was watching. Oh, you were watching, Ivan. Dude, can you call in? I was watching when you went on JP's TikTok stream and you gave what I thought was a mild critique to the young lady. It was absolutely mild. It's like, I'm so glad you watched that. Thank you. I thought she reacted incredibly arrogantly. It was very, very immature look. Sad. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to replay that. I'm going to replay this, you guys. Okay. Because this really frustrated me yesterday.
Real quick, let's press this live.
Because look, I'm just trying my best to help people understand their faith well. Like, man, there is no greater joy that I get in life. Really, no greater joy I get in life than
of God.
I'm going to give you guys a context here because it matters. No greater joy I get in life than helping people understand their faith well. Like, I'm telling you, the spark in the eyes is just, I don't need much for life than to experience that. I'm going to show you guys what actually the conversation was about. And then you guys will know exactly what I mean when I'm talking about something's just off. Okay, plenty of people say that. But I'm glad you were there and you watched it. I love that you said that was a mild critique. It was. But that's the thing. A lot of Christians are streaming online. They're always arguing with, and this can happen to all of us. And it's happened to me before. Look, I'm not 20. I'm not 22. I'm not 30, man. I'm 40 now. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've gone through the growth patterns and you want to give people wisdom. It's like, no, that's a pitfall. Don't fall into it. If you do, God's going to rebuke you. You're going to get corrected and but it's better for you to be wise enough and not go through that. So I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, so they're in arguments with so many people, typically people who talk to Muslims, where they become aggressive towards Christians. Like your brothers and sisters in the Lord. And you say something and they think you're picking a fight. They think it's like, I'm not picking a fight. Just explaining something to you. Explaining something clear to you. So here's what happened yesterday, guys.
Or somebody hears Prince.
Okay, now this young lady's gonna give. I'm just gonna say young lady. She's gonna give an explanation because somebody else asked a question, and the question had to do with the Old Testament, what's typically called the Canaanite genocide. And I'm gonna refuse to use all the, like on TikTok, it's really bad. Like you can't say normal words. You see my frustration in this video that I can't have a normal conversation because you might get. It wasn't my channel. That's why I respected it. It's JP's. But if it was mine, I'm just not going to care. Oh, you won't grow. You won't do this. I don't care. Check this out.
Okay. I do,
Blake,
but it's okay. Yeah.
Blake, can I ask a question?
Go
You
ahead.
see and I always ask people this, right? You see the T group who go around unaliving people like year after year after year. So if you think of like the T group, you think of all the people who are going to like different countries and doing bad things and unaliving people, right? Let's say they all came from one community and you could see them as babies.
Hold on, Sister Tiger. I'm gonna bring up everybody that requested to say one thing, but after you say one thing, I gotta clear the rooms again. So, but yeah, go ahead, Tiger.
Yeah, go down. Yeah, and the only option, the only choice was that they were going to grow up and they were going to do what they did, right? Would you keep them? Would you still keep them even as babies to grow up and do what they do?
As a person, like as a human, like currently, that like
as in
no contact
Chris,
with
check
God,
your phone.
No, as in you could
knowledge.
see what would happen in the future, and that's the only thing that was going to happen. And you now have a choice over these kids: either let them grow and unalive billions of people, or take them out while they're still babies and save other people and stop them from growing and doing what they were doing. What would you do?
Just listen to the hypothetical conversations here, by the way. Okay. Listen to what she's saying. She's talking about if you know the future and somebody's going to do something heinous, it's justified for you to take them out when they're a baby. Now, this is a typical ethical dilemma question. The unaliving, killing, because they're going to get banned if they say killed. like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, there's words I just don't like saying, so whatever. But I'm just getting really sick and tired of it. So that's part of what her argument is, and I think that's problematic. But you'll see my response.
If I know for sure and I have wisdom, I would like. Okay, I'm not. Okay, it's hard to say.
God, just be honest. You would take them out.
Yes.
You would take them out while they're babies, right?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So this is the point. This is the reason why I came up to ask you that question. Because if you take that mindset as you're somebody who would do that in that case, and we're somebody with a lack of knowledge, imagine when we actually put that scenario to somebody who does have all knowledge and left 430 years of the same generation being babies and growing up, So God saw it from the beginning, and that's the reason why that happened.
Let me go on the record though. If I knew who Nittler was, notice I said it with an N, Nittler, I wouldn't have unalived them because I am not God. I don't have that right. So I just wanted to go on the record. I don't have those rights. The only person that has the right to take away life and give life is God. I don't have that right. And so I just wanted to go on the record. So I don't care if Nittler, baby Nittler is standing right in front of me. I'm not doing anything because I don't have that right. Go ahead, continue, Tiger.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying it is that if we can understand, obviously, it's nobody's right without the command of God, or even as human beings to be able to take a life. But if we can understand that if these so-called people didn't exist, there would be less issues in the world, and we're human beings. Then imagine God, who could see absolutely everything. He would be justified for the act because he sees and he knows and he creates. So he could also take out. You see? So that would be the only thing. So it wouldn't be a justification of like G-side. It would just be God is sovereign with what he did because he sees the future and he knows the outcome of everything.
As in like being proactive, like for example, if someone is like buying like weird like chemicals, and then like the government knows like this is a recipe for something bad, then they would actually take action before the crime takes place. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just think about it like this. God actually saved the kids from ending up like their parents and going through eternal condemnation by taking them out before they would do the acts, and then by then saving other people as well. You see? But yeah, that's what I wanted to say. God bless, guys.
God bless you, Sister Tiger. We got to do a live one of these days. You and I.
Yeah, we do. Let me know.
For sure, sister. It's just a time difference. You're down in, All right, so we're gonna go in order. Apologia Center, you wanted to say something, and then we'll remove you because we got to move on with the show. So go ahead, brother. I know you wanted to say something. Then we'll let Christian King, and then Michael. What do you believe, Michael? Michael, what do you believe?
Okay, this is gonna get weird. He talks to this guy. This is really weird, and then I talk.
Hey. I'm a Christian, but can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, brother. What do you believe?
I believe in Christ, but I have some problem, like, I don't know, like.
Okay, brother, do you believe Jesus is God?
This is what I wanted to talk about.
Yes, or do you believe Jesus is God? Yes or no?
So the guy said that Jesus had sent him to tell everyone that he's not God.
Yeah.
Do you believe Jesus is God? Yes or no?
Jesus is sending me out to the public to tell the world that he is not God. He
thinks he's a prophet, bro.
Yeah, I don't care what kind of prophet you are. You're going to come back up and tell me Jesus is God? Yes or no? That's it. Like, come on, man. Like, don't waste my time. 40 hours to tell me. Yo, Chris, ask me if Jesus is God, Chris. Ask me real quick. Facts. Ask me if Jesus is God.
Is Jesus God? Is Jesus God, JP?
I was sent to the world by the Messiah to tell the world how. Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
Hi.
Michael, is Jesus God?
Oh, gosh.
You want the yes or no? The answer is no.
Thank you. Now wait your turn. Wait your turn, and we'll get to you next, all right? All right, Apologia Center, you wanted to say something, so go ahead. E. Blake is there if you wanted to say something.
Okay, so I'm going to answer this lady's question, and then I'm going to make a couple of comments as to theological discourse, and then look what it turns into, guys. Yeah, so Blake, 2 books, and then a third one. I have 2 of them with me. I got a third one. I don't have the third one on hand. Did God really command? I guess you guys can't certain words. Say certain words there. Did God really command?
Let me give you a big screen. You watching, E. Blake? E. Blake, you watching? E. Blake, you there?
Yes.
Okay, now look at his screen. Look at his screen.
Did God really command denocide? Denocide. It's hilarious to me. Is God a moral monster? These are all written by Paul Copan. Okay.
Yeah.
Is God a moral monster? And then there's another one called Is God a Vindictive Bully? They all address the same issue in regards to the actions of the Israelites in the Old Testament. So that's it. Those are you asked for resources. So those are your resources. Paul Copan's done really good research on this matter. But I would, some of the stuff you guys have said are extremely problematic. Just in totality in the group. I think they're problematic theologically and they're problematic like philosophically and ethically.
You disagree with Frank Turek in that regard?
No, I don't necessarily disagree with what Frank Turek said, but I disagree. The sister that was up before me, the line of argumentation she was going with was it was horrendous. Because when people take out their babies, that's the sort of argumentation that they give. It's exactly the same sort of argumentation.
All right.
And I appreciate what you said, by the way, JP. I think what you said was right on, that you wouldn't take on that guy. So I would just caution you guys to be a bit more well thought out on some of these
I would
answers.
like to know what was the problem with the question that I asked, because I gave the scenario of us being knowledgeable. I'm not saying in a normal scenario we wouldn't know all things, but I gave the scenario by which God himself does know all things. So the reductio would be that no human being in any capacity has the knowledge to be able to know what somebody would do in the future, so we don't have the right to be able to do so. So how is it problematic?
Yeah, I'll give you two
all right, so look, how about this? Look, since I do want to deal with this guy and that's not the topic, I will allow Tiger and Apologia to talk for 2 minutes, and then I got to move on. So you guys can go ahead and chat for 2 minutes, and then I got to move on because these are the topics here. So go ahead, Tiger, since Tiger wanted to engage.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, how does, so you're basically telling us that if you had the knowledge of God, you would not be justified to act, knowing.
What I'm going to tell you is that God has the knowledge of God, and God doesn't act. And so you have an internal problem there of turning God into a unjust being for not acting when he does have the right and allows it to happen. That's an internal problem.
How would that be an internal problem? Because again, like I said, God acts because he has all the knowledge.
Okay, because God knows the facts and does not act.
Okay, how does that still change the fact that if God himself has all the knowledge,
because if God,
then he would, can I finish my sentence, please? Thank you. I know. You're the one that called me out. You should have kept it to yourself, but you decided to call me out. So stress over it. The whole point here is, if God has all the knowledge, then God would be justified when he acts, and he would also be justified when he doesn't act, because he has all the knowledge. So how is that now a conclusion based on what I said, that when God doesn't act, it would give us the moral rights to be able to call out God?
Yeah,
JD, just 1 second. Sorry. That was a lot of words for saying something very simple. Listen, is God obligated to do that which is right?
God is obligated to do that.
Just yes or no. Just yes or no. Just please yes or no, please.
No,
sister, I'm begging you.
It's a loaded question. I'm so sorry. It's a loaded question. So I answer it the way you asked me the question. So since it's a loaded question, you're going to get a loaded answer, which is every single thing that God does in his own rights is right. So he's not obligated to act on every situation, knowing that he sees everything.
Your answer just runs into the Euthyphro dilemma.
Yeah, so look,
and you have a major issue on your hands.
Yeah, so look, if you guys want to talk these philosophical issues sometime, I couldn't host a conversation between y'all, but at this time, these are the topics. So
I was just going to give an answer. I wasn't trying to debate her. I was trying to make a couple.
You guys both get both of you guys get a 1 minute closing just to get your thoughts out, and then that's it. We got to wrap up.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you both get 1 minute. All right. So who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
Tiger, you want to go first? 1 minute, and then.
Yeah, I'm
go 1 minute, and then Apologia Center 1 minute, and then we're going to talk to this false prophet.
Yeah. I'm still going to stand by the point that the reason why God acts and the reason why God is justified to act on what he does do is the fact that he has foreknowledge of absolutely everything. So every single time he does act or doesn't act, it would be because he's sovereign. For example, Jesus Christ coming at the certain point that he did and him allowing sin. Why? Because at the point when Christ came to the point where we have now, it would all be within his will and it will all be within his time frame. I don't understand this whole, like, what is wrong about what I said. But yeah, I don't think there's much to talk about. And if he's so stressed about all the stuff that I'm saying, then you shouldn't have called me out in the first place.
Sister, you got 25 more seconds. Anything else you want to say?
It's not that deep. Yeah.
All right. Apologia Center, you got 1 minute. And if you guys want to have a deeper conversation on this, I can arrange it. Go ahead. You got a minute.
First of all, it would be morally unjust and unrighteous to punish people for acts they have not committed yet. By definition. Okay, you are guilty of a crime when you commit the crime, not before you've committed it. Even if you have knowledge of the crime that will be committed, you are not justified to punish someone for what they have done. If God were to do that, God would be unjust by definition, And therefore, you're giving a definition of God that is incorrect. The reason why I'm stressed out is not because you got some crazy arguments, it's because you're teaching incorrect things to people and you don't understand the categories very well. That's the reason why I'm stressed out, sister. I'm not an unbeliever, I'm a Christian. I do apologetics work. I've been doing this for a very long time. Okay. I have all the love for you. I just wanted to bring a slight correction in regards to what you were talking about.
All right. Well, God bless you both. Thank you for coming. And if you guys want to have a deeper conversation on this, I could.
Okay. Hey, why don't you guys be the judge, jury, and executioner? You, my audience, great people, intelligent individuals. What did you guys think about that conversation? What did you guys think about what I said? Did I say anything crazy? Tell me, guys. I'm listening to you. JP was super chill about that. The woman was not a Muslim? No. She was a Christian. Shut up. Hey. What's the worst button I have here? I can click for this guy. See, I don't have as bad as things that he has on his.
What are you doing?
I love backdoor. That was frustrating. Okay, so I'm not alone in this. This sounds like the ends justify the means argument. It's a utilitarian argument, by the way. Yes, it does sound exactly like that. You're right on. And just to say something like, well, God knows the future, does not help the situation. Right? God does not God acts not in accordance to his character in that scenario, but in accordance to the result of his actions. Yeah, correct. It's like somehow claiming omnipotence, omniscience, doesn't in any way change the facts of God having to do like any action. Okay, Tom's being a hater. Everybody, he's in the chat. He's an absolute hater. So I texted him and I was like, "Hey, I'm trashing you online." And then I was like, all the stuff I said about him and politics. And then he said, "Hater, you're overwhelmed with politics. Welcome to my everyday life." It's like, wow, you want to ruin my life just because your life is not good? If it wasn't people like me, yeah, he makes some other comment about like, if it wasn't for people like me, you apologists wouldn't have a platform, which is, and he said, "You're welcome," which is not true, by the way. I have my guess is, this is an educated guess, post-Trump, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be extremely dissatisfied with politics and conservative people and completely get out of it because they've been burnt to the candle. I'm not saying that's Trump's fault. I'm saying that's the way that politics have been done. We need like a cleansing to happen. She sounds exactly like a Muslim, not to mention her accent gives her away. No, she's from England. She's a Christian from England. The argumentative, empty word salad always. Yeah, so here's what my point was, Sawa. I think one of the things about Christians, we have to be very careful about this. Christians that are perpetually online and arguing with Muslims start taking on characteristics of those Muslims and their argument style. And I don't want to say some of the content, but definitely the style. And it might be some of the content. And I just don't think we should be doing that. That's nothing crazy on your end, but wow, she needed correction. This is why, like, when I get into conversations, with people, I ask questions like, how old are you? Do you go to a church? Like, do you have a pastor? Those things matter. They matter so much. Pisabi saw that comment from Tom and turned into a feminist. Yeah, please don't misread my comment. I love my Muslim people. I've just been around them too much to know. Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe I don't think she's a former Muslim, but she is a Christian. I wouldn't say that. Honestly, her appeal to foreknowledge is a rabbit trail. I know. We know that, Nick. I honestly struggle with claiming God is unjust on anything when there's no other standard to appeal to. Yeah, that comment by itself is hugely problematic. Like I mean, there's definitely things that I could give examples of and say something like, "Do you think God would condone that?" And you would immediately say no. God would never do something like that. Send it over when you have it, bro. I don't know what he's talking about. He's probably not talking about me. Are you? I don't know. If Tom was a man, he would call in right now. Tom's political takes take us deeper. The minds can never wonder. Can you send me your email? It would be easier. Oh, sorry. You guys should probably be having this conversation on Instagram. Trump is going to tell the world if aliens exist or not, guys. All the atheist materialists are going to love him for this. When you said ladies first, it sounded very patriarchal. Or nice. Tom has turned into a liberal, guys. It's become a feminist liberal. Actually, I struggle with God being just. I wrestle with that all the time in prayer. But you're not alone. There's a lot of people in the Bible that do that. God regarding what I've experienced, and I've seen this in the world. I can't tell you how much I agonize over that. Well, again, this is why I always refer people to the book of Habakkuk, because both we see an example of someone agonizing over God's decisions, but second, what we see in that is that God has reasons for allowing certain things to happen that we don't have access to, and we don't know what's going on. And God is accomplishing multiple things. And then once those things are brought to light, then the prophet says, "Oh, I get it." And I think that's in the text, and I think that's a possibility of things happening within our own life and our own reality. So that's a possibility. Hey, Joshua, how are you doing? How are you doing? I'm dead. How are you doing? Oh, man. Oh. It sometimes slips out, guys. It sometimes happens. That was a good laugh. The problem I have with claiming God is unjust for doing X when there's no other appeal seems baseless. Not saying I agree with her, but one could say it fits in line with his essence and character. But one would have to argue that it would fit. So the way you would go about it is something like, would it be just to punish someone before they've committed a crime? And that's pretty, like, intuitively you would know that the answer is no. Would God do anything unjust? No, God wouldn't do anything unjust. So God wouldn't punish someone before they've committed something. Now, and I actually, one of the things that JP said, and I said, JP, he made a comment and stuff. Like, I actually think there's a way better statement you can make that's theologically in line. Like, for example, God has the right to take any life he wants to himself. Now, I could have gone in that direction because that girl was asking some other questions. And I think the folks that were answering her weren't focusing on, they were saying God can take any life he wants. Correct, God can. God gives and takes away. But the problem generally that non-believers have is not that God can do that, is that God commanded other human beings to do that. And that's where the real conversation comes up. But like she could have said, God has the prerogative. He's the giver and sustainer of life, and he's able to take it. And he can do that to young people and old people alike. That would have been a way more consistent answer rather than trying to justify. And this is why I said your categories are off. You don't understand the categories very well. This is why I said that the whole he knows the future, therefore that justifies his actions is extremely unnecessary. It's just not a proper way of doing theology. But everybody's got an opinion, man, and you can be really aggressive and potentially tell people who are trying to help you out that they don't know what they're talking about. Which is like not my heart. I don't know in what other way I can approach people and say, like, man, I care about you. Like, you Christian, I really care about you, and I want you to be a good witness. And I think Jesus is going to hold you accountable to all the words you've said. And I think Jesus is going to hold you accountable to what kind of a representative you've been of him in front of the watching world. And there's good ways of doing this, and there's bad ways of doing this. Can I help you in doing it good? And then being attacked for that. You've been hanging out with Pasabi too much. I know how it does. How are you doing? Regarding punishing folks before their crime, we should watch Minority Report with Tom Cruise. Solid movie. Very Molinistic. I watched it. You better know I watched it when it came out. I love that stuff. By the way, the movie that I really want to watch that recently came out is called Mercy. I haven't seen it yet. When is it coming out? I think it already came out. It's with Chris Pratt. Is it out already? Yeah, it's out. It is out. This is an interesting movie. So basically, it's about a guy who develops AI software who's able to the AI is judge, jury, and executioner. And you got to defend yourself to the AI, and the AI gives you like all the evidence and stuff that they've compiled. Very interesting. Go look it up. Go look up a trailer. But I'm definitely going to go watch that. Mercy. Yes. So the question is not if God exists and has all the power that he has, would God have the prerogative to do all those things? That seems pretty reasonable amongst like philosophers of religion. The question people have is like, why should we trust the Israelites? Why should we trust Moses? Like, if Moses is walking around and saying, I'm talking from the non-believer's perspective, right? If Moses is walking around and saying, well, God's commanded me to do the following thing, and I'm going to do it. Like, he's just evoking the name of God. Like, now I do think there's a way out of that. And when we look back on it and the evidences and the proofs and what's come out of it, we can say, yes, this was God. And develop our theology on that matter. But generally, we want to understand the actual question people are asking, especially especially here's what's important: when a Christian is asking you a question, so that they will have proper answers to someone else, it's even more difficult, because then it becomes whatever you tell them, they're going to go repeat it to someone, and then that someone's going to know that they're not well prepared, and it's going to be bad. If the unbeliever knows what they're talking about, it's going to be really bad. Huh. Man, you guys made me run out of battery on the lights. How long have we been live? Man, that's weird. I wonder if this one is linked to the other one. Okay, we'll let those charge. What else? What do you guys have? Anybody got any questions? Anybody wants to come up and have a conversation here? What are some common Christological critiques offered by Dawa Bros against Jesus? It's very strange, like as in arguments against Jesus' divinity or the Trinity. So their arguments are very strange, because they're coming at it from the perspective of you can't trust the New Testament documentation. Now, people like, I think Jake the metaphysician, right? Is that what his name is? Jake has developed a number of or borrowed a number of arguments. I don't know, where it deals with the wills kind of issue, where it deals with like identity properties, and what does it mean when we talk about Jesus is God, and the Father is God, and the Holy Spirit is God. Does that? I'm probably not doing a very good job representing his position. You can go look up his position, but I would say, because I haven't thought about it for a while, but can you say God is Jesus, for example? Like God died on the cross. That kind of conversations. So there are a number of things that go into these common, and I wouldn't say those are common. That's the thing. Like I wouldn't say Jake's position's common. He understands philosophy a lot better. The ones that are common are essentially people like, you guys believe in tritheism. The Bible's been corrupted. Jesus never said these things. It's those sorts of things, and they're really lame. They're not that difficult to combat and own. The thing is, as a woman interested in apologetics, you don't argue well in speech, as I do in writing, then speech. I found that very... Sorry, what? The thing is, as a woman interested in apologetics, okay, you don't argue well in speech. Like, are you saying I don't argue well in speech? And if you are, what does that have to do with you being a woman interested in apologetics? You find that very concerning, that I don't argue well in speech. That I don't argue well in writing. You've heard very mixed things about Mercy. Interesting. My communication is much more active in writing. Okay, that's your personal thing. Then in verbal communication, I do pray God will help me there. Yeah, and look, that's fine. By the way, I think there are individuals. I've met scholars. I'm not going to name names. Not going to name names. I have met scholars of whose books I've read, and I loved it because they're great authors. I met them and they couldn't carry a conversation. Like, horrible. would never invite them to present their own arguments in front of an audience, because they don't know how to speak in front of people. But they're amazing in writing, and I think that's, look, I put that in a category of gifting. I just put that in a category of gifting. Now, I have I just don't like presenting arguments in writing. I don't really see a need for it, at least at this point in my life. But I've written papers and argued for positions, and I think I've done pretty good jobs. A pretty good job. I've done a decent job at presenting those things. But they're well researched kind of papers that I've written. It's like I don't blog. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and do that. And so that would be an area of growth in my life. I really don't understand Jake's argument with abrogation. It doesn't change the fact that the Quran affirms the inspiration, preservation, and authority of the news. I agree with you. Yes, try to listen as much as I can. Yes, I have a question. What are your thoughts regarding the new heaven and new earth? Why the new earth, except for the obvious reason? What will occur in the new earth? Marriage doesn't seem to be an option in that category. What will occur? Again, we don't get much much there. The new earth is more of a revived earth, is the way I would speak about it. It's like the garden on a global scale, if we can speak about it in those categories. What will we do on that? We don't get much biblical evidence. I just don't want to guesstimate there. Work seems like it. I think, and I can base that based on. So some of the stuff I can base is in regards to like garden language, but work, creativity, human ingenuity, proper human relationships, property-oriented human relationships, being with God and in union with God, accomplishing various things. I mean, I can let my imagination run wild. Sort of don't want to. I don't know, interplanetary travel. Think about the stuff that human beings have been able to achieve in sin, and consider a world where there is no sin and we have a lot of time. We have all the time on our hands, and what we could achieve in that. So those. Did Jesus have Mary's DNA? Yes. Yeah. Yes, he's authentically human, like you and I. Absolutely. Jake seems to argue more on the authority of the Quran now. Some argue the 3-in-1 argument, others which God died on the cross. Yeah, the whole God died on the cross argument is hilarious to me, because they are defining death in a particular way in order for their argument to work. Oh, you said I don't argue well in speech. Yes. Can absolutely carry a conversation, but something literally happens where verbally, not you, or corrected. Yeah, and again, look, that's your gifting. Like, don't. Like, I would really. I think there's a category of people that prefer to read things, and you could be doing all that stuff in writing, in the written word, and you should do that. Hmm. So I'm trying to figure out. I'm looking at my cameras and I'm like, how can I adjust these things in these ways? So when Tom's in the office, we can sit across from each other, like brothers, arguing. Me dismantling him and his arguments. We good, guys? Ooh, I should say this. I haven't said this for a while. I'm going to say this because I am speaking at the Bless God Summit. I just got an email that said VIP tickets for the Bless God Summit have officially sold out. Now, there is an option. They just recently announced this. There is, by the way, the lineup is nuts. Lineup for the Bless God Summit is absolutely nuts, you guys. Okay, and this is obviously not all of the people, but lots of folks. Okay, there is a virtual ticket that they recently announced. I think. Let me see if I can go through the process. Pricing details, browse event. Where's the virtual event? Huh. I thought I saw a virtual event. Hang on, I'm going to figure this out for you guys. Oh, there it is. I'm such a... Guys, look at this. Look where it's at. Where is that? It's right here. It says virtual ticket now available. Okay. So you click on that and it'll take you to the virtual ticket. $75 for the virtual ticket, I think, is very worth it, you guys. Like, if you are interested in seeing all those guys and girls that are going to be speaking and you can't make it, flights and all that stuff, man, get the virtual ticket. $75. Sheesh. That's cheap. Okay. It's a 3-day event. I don't know what the setup is and all that stuff, but it's coming up in a couple of weeks. And if you're going to be there, make sure that you talk to me. And if I think, yeah, Ruslan is up on the tech stuff. One of the other things is that there is, you can always apply for a scholarship, I think. If you can't afford it, you can apply for a scholarship and they'll help you out if they have the finances for it. So I'm excited for that, man. I'm excited for, that's March 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's coming up. There are still some general admission tickets. And it says, I don't want you to miss your chances. Grab your seats here. Yeah, so. Promoting girls are speaking, forget about it. Now, what is wrong with this guy? Bro, what is wrong with you? I don't have that same button that you have. Like, what, bro, what? But I do have this.
What are you doing?
Okay. Adam and Eve created in the garden to multiply. Correct. Yes. For a poet that baffles me, we think too deep and it causes many ideas. Yeah, but like there is no procreation in the new heaven and the new earth. That seems to be a part of. And Jesus says, in the life to come, there's no one will be given in marriage. It's a bit way out of for me to go. I'm from Scotland. Yeah, but you can do the virtual thing, man. I mean, $75 for the virtual ticket, I think, for a 3-day conference is really good. Folks, very, very good. We might be going to have ice cream together today. Haven't heard anything. We are not talking. I'm not talking politics with you, man. You're done. You're done. You're finished. You're done. Finished. Okay. How long has this been going on? What do you guys think? You guys like this new setup? Yeah. Got to check up on a couple of things. What else should I do? Like Tom's got like pictures of Kobe hanging and this and that. Maybe I should hang my my diplomas. No. If I were to hang anything, it would be this. Here, I'll show you. You guys can't see it. Maybe I should hang this. Huh? This is beautiful. Maybe I should hang this here, like Tom. Nah, I don't think it looks nice. But I mean, this looks nice. My friend, by the way, does this. This is all hand. This is hand done. The entire drawing is hand done, and it's beautiful. I like it. This is a serving tray. You serve coffee with this. When your in-laws come over, you make coffee and tea. You put it in here. You take it over to them. Hopefully, you won't be shaking. By the way, when I say that, I mean you're a woman. It's the woman who does these things, and hopefully you won't shake and spill it. Because if you shake and spill it, then you're not ready for marriage. Whoa! What? He just said I could do an Apologia carving if you want. Heck yeah, I want. Dude. I absolutely want. Is the painting behind you Moses? Oh, this one. No. So a friend of mine made this, Lewis. It's called Over 100. This is all AI done, by the way. Over 100 illustrations. So a visual companion of the book of Psalms. It's a visual companion of book 1, which is Psalm 1 to 50. Okay, so it's all AI done. It's got some beautiful stuff in there. So let's see. For example, this is Psalm 1. That's Psalm 2. Like, it's a lot prettier. This is good. Psalm 3. So one of my buddies did it. Is Psalm 18 is a good one. And send it to me. Psalm 20. I'm not sure if you can buy this actually. Let me see. It might be on Amazon. It's the back of it. I'm probably not searching the right things. Yeah, I can't find it. He probably sent me a link a long time ago. Let me see if I can scan it. And then we're on a mission right now. But it's really nice. It's really, really cool. No, I can't find it. I think he might have had this printed himself. Yeah, he might have had that printed himself. It's really nice. Bro, you got to send me a message. I got to see what kind of carving you're going to do. I will have a look tomorrow. I think I have a nice bit of British white oak that might look nice. Can you send me a message on Instagram? Shoot me a message. See you, Tom. I've been noticing that many times people in apologetics online who have a good philosophical grounding of the Trinity, Jesus' divinity, etc., are orthodox. Is it accurate or selection bias? I don't know. I don't know. I want to guess that it is selection bias, but I'm not sure. I don't have enough data on my hands. Question. How do you approach apologetics in terms of multiple subject matters? Learning how to answer Muslims, atheists, Catholics. Don't do it. That's how I would say. That's what I would say. And putting Catholics in the same category as Muslims and atheists is weird to me, by the way. Just saying. But what I would say is don't do it. What you should do is pick a subject, study it, become really, really good at it, and then pick another subject and study it and become really, really good at it. Do it one at a time, and don't just like don't over like pack your mind and your attention. Some of it will bleed into one another, obviously, but that's my recommendation. Your handle is the same on Instagram. Yeah, but like you shoot me a message and then I'll respond. I have many disagreements with the Orthodox, but they have to be doing something right in that area. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. I've never asked. Do you have a specific preference or request for meat? I wouldn't mind doing a gallon of Apologia mead. Man, now people are like, dude, we'll give you stuff, Arthur. Yeah, pomegranate. Anything, pomegranate alone, pomegranate with anything, pomegranate. That's what I would say. I do want to respond. I do want a little. Now, this, again, this involves politics, but it's not this guy. Yeah, see this guy? I should do this on Twitter. Oh, Tom sent it to me. Let's see. Tom sends me so much stuff, man. Arthur, watch this. Arthur, watch that. Arthur, make sure you do this and that. No, I love Tom. He knows I love him. Too much. Look at this guy. And well, I'll tell you this after I do this. Let's see if this will work. What's this guy's name? Not Stephen Colbert. James Tallarico. He's the liberal guy running for office in Texas. Look at this. Look what he says. Look how low quality this guy's thinking is. I'll explain it. Okay.
Well, for 50 years, the religious right, a political movement, that is the perfect description for it, they convinced a lot of our fellow Christians that the most important issues were abortion and gay marriage. two issues that aren't mentioned in the Bible, two issues that Jesus never talked about. Jesus in Matthew 25 tells us exactly how you and I and every one of our fellow believers, how we're going to be judged and how we're going to be saved. By feeding the hungry, by healing the sick, by welcoming the stranger. Nothing about going to church, nothing about voting Republican. It was all about how you treat other people. Don't. I've said before, don't tell me what you believe. Show me how you treat other people, and I'll tell you what you believe. And I think in our faith, we've got to get back to those fundamentals. My granddad was a Baptist preacher in South Texas, and when I was little, he told me that Christianity is a simple religion, not an easy religion. He would always clarify, but a simple religion because Jesus gave us two commandments: love God and love neighbor. And there was no exception to that second commandment. Love thy neighbor regardless of race or gender or sexual orientation or immigration status or religious affiliation. And it's why I have fought so hard for the separation of church and state in the state capitol in Texas, because, well, for 50.
So I wanted you guys to listen to that whole thing, and then now I'm going to respond to the stuff he says and show you that either this guy doesn't understand Christianity at all, or he's an absolute fraud that's using Christian lingo to get votes. Okay? Absolute word salad. Absolute word salad. Okay? And I'll tell you, I'll give you my opinions. They'll be unhinged to a certain extent. Go ahead.
Well, for 50 years, the religious right, a political movement, that is the perfect description for it, they convinced a lot of our fellow Christians that the most important issues were abortion and gay marriage. Two issues that aren't mentioned in the Bible, two issues that Jesus never talked about.
Okay, so Jesus didn't talk about a lot of stuff. And there's many things that the Bible doesn't mention that are extremely important. And just because the Bible doesn't mention it doesn't mean that you can't deduce from that. Okay? For example, the Bible might not mention a particular kind of torture based on someone's, say, ethnicity or skin color or something like that. Like you won't find it in there where it says, you shall not put glass underneath the fingernails of, certain kind of people. And the Christians are like, we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be doing this. And you go, well, the Bible doesn't talk about this. This is where the low quality of thinking and the low quality in thinking theologically of the audience that's going to view this guy and think he's saying something somewhat intelligent, because he hits all the points of agreement where everybody's going to do the claps for him without realizing that the Bible actually talks about those things. The Bible, by definition, the Bible, by deduction, speaks about homosexual marriage. In that, it speaks about marriage. So if the Bible talks about marriage and says this is what marriage is, it excludes from it anything that is not that. And it's a reasonable conclusion to come to. For the same reason, we would, let's just change it up, right? Like he could sit there and say, well, the Bible doesn't speak about, group marriages, thruples. It doesn't. The Bible doesn't talk about thruples. The Bible doesn't talk about one woman having 8 husbands. The Bible doesn't talk about a marriage between 5 people, 3 guys and 2 girls. But because of what it talks about when it comes to marriage, you deduce and conclude that there's a proper understanding of marriage. The Bible might not speak about abortion in the way he's talking about it, but the Bible talks about the sanctity of human life. The Bible talks about murder being wrong. And I'm going to show you how he contradicts himself, by the way, without even realizing. The Bible doesn't talk about this. The religious right has, but I'm more religious. I'm a Christian and I disagree with these things. No, you're ignorant. You don't understand these things very well. So check it out. Look what he says.
Jesus in Matthew 25 tells us exactly how you and I and every one of our fellow believers, how we're going to be judged and how we're going to be saved.
So
by feeding the hungry.
Here's the issue here.
By healing the sick.
This tells me that he's not theologically very aware. Now, I don't know what he's kind of trying to appeal to. Jesus tells us in Matthew 25 how to act, how we should be. And he says how we're going to be judged, and that's in there. But how we're also going to be saved. See, it's not just about things we can pull out of context. The Bible's very clear about how we will be saved. And it's not that passage. Salvation is in Christ. Christians ought to live a certain way. But he's going on that. And by healing people and caring for, those are all good things. We should all be doing those things. We're Christians. Christians have done those things. We continue to do those things. American evangelicals are the most generous individuals on the globe. There's more money going to healing, feeding poor people across the world from American evangelicals than anyone else on the planet. Christians are doing that. So the idea that somehow we're not doing this is just not true. It's an absolute lie. But look at the contrast he does here.
By welcoming the stranger. Nothing about going to church. Nothing about voting Republican.
The Bible talks about not forsaking the fellowship of the brethren, as some are in the habit of doing. That's the whole going to church thing. Like, how are you going to reduce church involvement and being a part of a church family from being important and claiming to be a Christian? Yeah, the Bible doesn't talk about voting Republican. The Bible doesn't talk about voting. Does that mean we shouldn't vote? These are silly arguments. They're not very well thought out arguments. They should be called out.
It was all about how you treat other people. Don't.
Look, the claps are there. And this is where the contradiction is going to come in. This is where the hypocrisy is going to come in. Okay? The Bible's all about treating other people well. Amen. Amen. But you're inconsistent with that. And the audience, yes.
I've said before, don't tell me what you believe. Show me how you treat other people, and I'll tell you what you believe.
Amen. And is he going to do that for us?
And I think in our faith, we've got to get back to those fundamentals. My granddad was a Baptist preacher.
That's a politician move, by the way. Just because your granddad was a Baptist preacher doesn't mean you're a Baptist preacher. It also doesn't mean that you agree with what your granddad would have believed and taught, but you're just throwing his name out there. My granddad was a Baptist preacher. Like, I would like to see your granddad and see whether he would agree with your political stances. And if he was of a certain generation, and if he was of a certain kind, I highly doubt that. But that's the political kind of, I have validity in what I'm talking about because my grandfather was a Baptist preacher, is the political maneuvering here. That's the equivalent of me coming in here and telling you, hey, I got some opinions about the heart surgery because my grandfather was a heart surgeon. It won't fly, but somehow it flies in this conversation.
In South Texas. And when I was little, he told me that Christianity is a simple religion, not an easy religion.
It's simple, but it's not simplistic, which is what he's trying to make it out to be. Simplistic. Okay? Or easy. He's right. It's not easy.
And he would always clarify. But a simple religion because Jesus gave us 2 commandments.
Yes, he did.
Love God and love neighbor. And there was no exception to that second commandment. Love thy neighbor.
And this is the hypocrisy. This is the point of the hypocrisy, you guys. Love that neighbor, and then he lists a number of things.
neighbor regardless of race or gender or sexual orientation or
Love your neighbor regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation. Amen. You know what else should be in there? Regardless of their geographical positioning, regardless if they're in the womb or out of the womb. But it seems like you're okay with that. You're okay with not loving your neighbor in the womb, your neighbor who is the most vulnerable, weakest. Human beings are the weakest in the womb. You're okay with that? Because geographical locations matter, I guess. This is why I can't take guys like this seriously. Because they don't seriously think about theology. It's the same liberal talking points with Christian overtones. Linguistically, it sounds Christian. Theologically, it's devoid of Christianity. It doesn't exist. It's picking and choosing the things that they agree with when it comes to Jesus. But it doesn't take into consideration all the other things the Bible teaches. All the other things we can conclude. The Bible says, love your neighbor. Is the baby in the womb? Is the baby in the womb? Is the baby in the womb my neighbor? That's a very important point. Very important question. This ruined my flow. I gotta edit this. Okay. Let's see what he goes on to say.
Immigration status or religious affiliation. And it's why I have fought so hard for the separation of church and state in the state capital in Texas, because
you're gonna get all the claps. You're gonna get all the honors, I guess, when it comes to that. What you're not gonna get is actual consistency when it comes to what the Bible teaches. Gentlemen like this, who come at it pretending to be Christians who are being consistent with the Christian worldview and their politics, are either extremely ignorant or flat out lying to you. That's a humongous problem. And we need to be articulate enough. We need to know our stuff. We need to know our Bibles well. We need to know our theology well in order for us to actually have a proper response and say, what you're presenting is actually not the Christian view. What you're presenting is the liberal talking points with Christian proof texting. You're just proof testing the Bible. And we're not going to stand for that. Okay. Okay. I'm going to edit that and post it hopefully today sometime. But Arthur, Talarico did an MDiv at the PC USA seminary. I mean, I've gone to school with a bunch of people, and it's very clear to me that just because you went to seminary, it doesn't result in you know what you're talking about. How about we love God and others, serve people in need, and not kill babies in the womb? Amen. Amen. My granddad was a master builder. I can rebuild London after it's been vacated. You see? Love your zygote. Yes. Love your babies, regardless of what stage of development your babies are in. Whether your baby is 5 weeks in the womb, 20 weeks in the womb, a month out of the womb, 2 years old, 5 years old, love your babies. Okay. I'm good. Can we call that a day? Let's call it a day, guys. We've had a really good stream. I've really enjoyed it. I like the new look. even though the lens I'm using is, it is worth way less than the other lens I have. And maybe I'll switch them and then see how they work and how we're going to use this. But Tom refuses to come into the office for us to fix these things. Guys, there was no echo in the video, right? I forgot to ask you guys that. Before we go, can you guys tell me if oh, you guys didn't complain, so my guess is there was no echo. Let me actually see what my indicator is saying here. Let me replay parts of this.
They convinced a lot of our fellow Christians that the most important.
Okay, but YouTube is. Tell me if there's an echo coming through here. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Hey, look at that.
Psalm 11, verse 4. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes see, his eyelids test the children of man. That's Psalm 11, verse 4. 1 Kings 22:19. And Micaiah said, therefore hear the word of the Lord.
This is good.
I saw the Lord sitting on his
That was
throne.
really weird. What was happening there was very weird. Let's see what Mike went.
Well. Here we are. Thanks, guys, for joining. It's not what Scripture says that every single one of us were a kingdom of.
Okay. The echo has been abrogated. He sent me a message. Okay, guys. God bless you guys. Much love, and I will see you later. Take care. Many, many, many blessings to you.